Welcome to After Cafe, where the aesthetic shape, thought find that, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is an empowerment life coach, no other than Ms. Zerina Derveni. Welcome on After Cafe, Ms. Zerina. Can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Thank you for having me, Daniel. Yes, so my name is Zerina Derveni. I am a life coach and I coach high achieving women. And usually, they're feeling stuck or they're feeling lost or they're going through a transitional period in their life when they come to me and we work through that together.
Yes, and thank you so much for empowering women all over the world, Ms. Zerina. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom as well. And today, let's talk about why achieving women struggle with love and how to change that. So, what is the most common conflicting narratives about love and success that achieving women internalize, and how does create a double blind when they are entered the dating world?
Yeah, I mean, love is the one area we all struggle with, right? Whether you're high achieving or not, I think it is definitely an area that, we could all use more help in and more awareness in. But specifically for high achieving women, what I've found through my coaching is I usually have two different types of clients, I say. I've got the ones that are doing really well professionally and financially, but emotionally and relationship wise, they're struggling, or the vice versa. They're doing well in their relationships. Emotionally, they're able to understand their emotions and regulate it. However, professionally and financially, they're struggling. So, what I've been able to find out personally through my coaching is a lot of the high achieving women, they're just really good at being, more in their intelligence mindset. So I call it the IQ. They're good at getting things done. They're good at being direct. They're professionally doing really well, financially doing really well. So when it comes to that side of being more vulnerable or even knowing what their emotional needs are, I find there is this lack of knowing themselves. And because they don't know themselves or they don't know what their emotional needs are, it tends to then, kind of reflect in their relationships where things are just maybe not going as well, or they're struggling to communicate their emotional needs because they're just so used to being in this mindset professionally that does well, but then in relationships, you need to make sure that you're able to communicate in a more vulnerable um, space, right? You need to create
Mhm.
this comfortable, vulnerable space. So that's what I've found so far.
Miss Arena, you often hear the trope, I can run a boardroom, but I cannot read the dating app. Beyond busyness, what is the deeper emotional, strategical disconnect happening here?
So I actually find a lot of people who struggle to date or love don't know what they're looking for. So that's the first problem. Like we want love, we want connection, but we're not sure what we're looking for versus a boardroom. You're much more laser focused. You know what needs to get done. You're more specific. So it's kind of bringing those habits that we have in the boardroom into a relationship. Another thing outside of not knowing what you want so you can get more specific is also not being able to understand, what value you're bringing in and what value you actually value. So like I'll give you an example. Like we have a list of like wish list, let's say, of what we want in a partner.
Okay.
How about breaking that down to the, top three values that you as a person value, right? So whether
Hmm.
that's loyalty, whether that's integrity, whether that's, connection. And then that way, when you connect with people, you're connecting based on values because you're going to have differences in relationships. And I think that's healthy and that's normal. Like you can watch sports. I can watch, I don't know, something else like fashion shows. It doesn't matter that we watch the same thing, but do we actually value the same thing? Are we both valuing integrity? Is that on top of our value list? Are we both valuing respect? Do we both really want that? So I think bringing in a value system into dating is really important. And it kind of goes back to my first point of knowing what you want. So I do a lot of self discovery work with my clients before they even get out to dating, so they know what they're looking for, and it's setting them up for success rather just going in this like field of just like a bunch of different personalities.
In your observation, Ms. Zerina, how does the very skill set and breeds professional success, goal oriented focus, problem solving, or efficiency sometimes work against women when building a deep, intimate, and less controllable connection?
Yeah. So I find a lot of my female clients who have a high IQ, doing really well professionally, have a very black and white mindset. So it's like, well, if he wanted to do this, he would do this. Or if he was interested, he would do this. Or if he cared about me, he would show up. And all those, seem accurate when you're having a conversation. But when you look at the human experience is not black and white, right? There's a lot of gray
Yes.
area in relationships. Whereas maybe professionally, yes, life is very black and white. So it's, making space and creating space, sorry, in your relationship so somebody can feel safe to talk about more of that gray area. And I always say, like, do not assume, right? I think in life, the most successful people that I've seen in their relationships, one thing that they do differently is they seek clarity. They don't assume. So
Yes.
the quicker that you can get clarity, the quicker that you can implement tools in your communication skills to get clarity, then you can make decisions based on that, not based on assumptions. So I'm always working with women on getting in this gray area and asking the right questions so that they are not very black and white and making assumptions in their relationships.
Yes, people, we want colored, not black and white. And I just want to plug in. Please do listen to our episode with Miss Serena on Book 101 Review. It's already live on all podcast platforms. So please do listen Book 101 Review with Miss Serena because empowering women is something else. On mindset, identity, and self worth. For women whose identity and self esteem are tightly linked to her achievements and competence, how can vulnerability and unproductive nature of dating feel threatening?
Ooh. Um, It depends, really. I think when you're leading in your relationship with your performative self, I say, like, that's who you are at work, that's who you are to the public outside. I think if you bring that into your relationship, that can create, for you at least, some issues and maybe in your relationships. But I think it's understanding that we have different roles and that we need to be different people for those specific roles. So, you're a professional, you have a different role. When you come home, you have a different role. When you're with your partner, you have a different role. When you're with your friends, you have a different role. So I think it's bringing out those different roles that you have in a successful way while still being true to yourself, right? I don't, it's not
Hmm.
about, acting. It's more about, okay, so with my friends, I'm more like this. With my partner, I'm more like this. With my family, I'm more like this. At work, I have to be more like this. So it's having an understanding of your identity. I often say to my clients when we first start working together, a lot of them have self-awareness because they're, intelligent, they've achieved milestones and success in life. We work up and we level up and we go to self identity and we really work on their core self identity and then how they react, in different environments. It's a stem of their core, but it's also, who they're dealing with that's important so that they're not disappointed.
Yes, indeed, not disappointed. And how does the perfectionisms that serve them professionally become a trap in relationships, both in how they judge potential partners and how they feel they must present themselves?
I always say this, and I say you will never connect with a partner if you're being perfect. It's through the messiness, it's through, some of the challenges that you really connect with a human being. And the way I explain it is, a lot of us who are high achievers or successful, we've been told no before. We've not been told yes all the time, right? And if anybody
Yes.
believes that, that's just silly. So, we connect with people when we're being raw and authentic and real and vulnerable. So in a relationship, can you imagine just being all perfect and aiming for this like false perfection? Like, it's just not how connection happens. Connections happens when things are authentic, when things are raw. So it's kind of like having that mindset shift of like, the human experience is not perfect. Sure, there are moments in life where there is a perfect moment, and that's something
Yes.
that you describe yourself what that is. But really, I it's a reminder to them. And even when we're working together, we're talking about things that are uncomfortable, that require vulnerability. And I remind them, like, look how much we're talking and we're connecting. Imagine bringing that to your relationship in whatever capacity you're comfortable with. That's where beauty happens. It's not in the perfection state. I think that's just looks good for a picture, but that's not the human experience.
Yes, people remove your perfectionism. It's not good for you and for everybody.
It's
Nobody's
boring.
perfect. Yes, it's nobody's perfect. Many high achievers are used to being the expert or the provider. What is the shift internally to allow space to receive love, support, and not be in charge for once?
Oh, this is a hard one.
For sure.
um, yeah, personally, I've gone through my own journey of this when I was younger, and now realized how beautiful it is to have somebody take control and be in a receiving mindset. I think for the females that I coach, it's a lot of reminding them, who we are at our core, and that feminine energy and essence is being able to receive, is being able to show gratitude and thanks. And I think a lot of the women that are currently in this extreme control state of mind, it's just a habit. Deep down, it's not, what they really want. They're tired, they're burned out. So I think it's like really having that conversation of bringing them kind of back to that feminine essence and building small habits to allow them to be able to receive where they're comfortable receiving.
Yeah. So, on societal pressure and partner dynamics, what role does persistence is often unspoken societal expectation that woman should be less than or softer than her partner play in creating anxiety or poor partner selection?
Yeah, so the moment that you're in this mindset that you want to be less than, because a lot of this stuff happens subconsciously, right? It's not happening consciously. Just know that relationship is set up for failure.
Mhm.
So I think, the general rule is the moment that we want to, make ourselves smaller or limit ourselves, we're not being true to ourselves, and that relationship is being set up for failure. So I think first step is, again, self-awareness. And then the second step is, you want to be around people who empower you. And the best way to explain empowerment, I explain this to a lot of clients or just people who are curious about coaching. It's like, imagine playing your favorite music, right? Or your favorite song. Sorry, you're at the gym, you're playing your favorite song. It will allow you to work out even better, right? You have this like higher self sense of worth. And I say bring that energy to the people you're attracting, even in relationships. You want somebody to empower you, somebody that likes the important parts of you, so that, as you're evolving as a human being, you're not really changing and limiting yourself so the other person can feel better. You're coming together and you're both contributing in your unique ways.
What is the first most crucial mindset shift a high achieving woman needs to make to move from interviewing a candidate to connecting with a potential partner? Miss Zerina.
That's such a good question. I think, I would, if I was a coach and I was coaching a client and I was asked that question, I would say, ask simple questions first,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
think I've had a few clients who have set out, questions that they wanted to ask on dates. And I think it's very important to be intentional. However, you got to allow some natural moments. And I think that's when you actually get the truth from people versus asking direct questions that, as you're dating, like, people can be transparent, but a lot of people are not going to tell you the truth. They're going to put their best foot forward. So being more relaxed and being able to ask more simpler questions actually gets you to more truth versus having this maybe pre-planned set of questions that are more interview style. It just doesn't really work again when you're building a connection or you're building an intimate relationship. I find it's like you got to switch it up and do things differently, and really leave the IQ outside the door and bring in a lot of emotional intelligence in it.
Leave the IQ, people, and let the EQ well reside for the meantime. How does healthy deprioritizing look like in context? Is it about abandoning goals but creating intentional space? How does he do without guilt?
You know what? I have to bring it back to the value system. So the one thing that a lot of women deal with is guilt, right? That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is another one. Maybe judgment is a common one. So when we talk about these three areas that they're struggling with, it's like bringing it back to their values and their goals. If their value is growth, for example, or their value is connection, then it's like, how is guilt going to help you get there? Well, it's not. How is anxiety going to help you get there? Well, it's not. How is judgment going to help you get there? And the answer is usually it's not. So it's being aware of what you're working towards and being aware of what your limits are. So when those limits come up, you're not going to get rid of them right away. It's, again, it takes practice. That's the human experience. It's when they come up, it's having that conversation with yourself and saying, okay, well, if I'm feeling guilty right now because I'm doing this for myself and I cannot do this other thing, this is actually working towards my goal. So I need to change the mindset. Okay, I feel guilty. Okay, that's okay. Let the feeling flee. Let's focus on what I'm working towards.
On communication and building the relationship, Ms. Zerina, direct solution oriented communication works at work. How does that style need to be adopted for more nuanced, feeling based conversations that build romantic intimacy?
So I actually find, and I've done this at work too, sometimes it's worked well, but I find if you are trying to have a more serious conversation or more vulnerable conversation and you're just starting out, you're maybe not comfortable with the confrontation part, or you need time to process or practice, whatever the case is, I find bringing it up at first. So, hey, Daniel, I think maybe we should talk about this weekend, and I want to explain why I was feeling a little bit down, and then, what we can do together to improve our relationship. So if you've got some time, do you mind if we go for a walk on Saturday and talk about it? So it's like setting the conversation up, not um, blaming it, but really talking about something from your perspective that bothered you, setting a time in the near future that you can talk about it so that person as well can kind of be in the know, like, oh, okay, like we're going to talk about this. It's not from a attack or defensive perspective, it's just giving that person some space and respect. So when you do talk about it, it's not this big deal and you can kind of like slowly in your own way go through it. So I think it's setting it up first, being a bit more vulnerable from a sense of allowing that person space and time to then come to the conversation with their viewpoint, but then also being clear about how you felt and what you would like to see moving forward.
Moving forward for sure. So, what are the signs that she is choosing a partner based on a checklist of achievements versus felt sense of connection, safety, and shared values?
So there's usually three tiers to a relationship. There is the connection, chemistry. That's like the first kind of phase. And a lot of us, when we are here, will fall into two different relationships. It's usually soulful, which is the ideal. This is somebody you can build a life with. Or it might be a karmic, where the connection is just very strong. There's a lot of spark, but it's really meant to teach you a lesson. It's not meant to go further. And then the next phase, usually the soulful one would go there, is commitment, right? So you've got connection and chemistry, then you fall into commitment. This is when you're both exclusive and working towards a life together. And then the last one, which is the most important, is compatibility. So this is where, as I mentioned earlier, bringing in your value system is what's going to make the compatibility piece last. It's not interests, it's not all these maybe other things that you think are important. It's really, do you share the same values? Because once you can, get through the third phase of compatibility and actually work together, then you can set your relationship up for success and have it work towards you.
For success, for sure. So, Ms. Zerina, how can she navigate the often uncomfortable conversation about dynamics, ambition, and support early on without it feeling like a merger negotiation?
Goes back to really self-awareness and being able to communicate your needs. I to me now, and having gone through my life journey and have met so many people who are very successful, um, the one thing I've noticed that us human beings lack is the ability to be able to communicate our needs effectively, especially in relationships.
Mhm.
So that again requires self-awareness, and it's knowing yourself. And I don't mean like communicate your needs for every little thing. Like that's overbearing and no one's going to put up with that. I mean like know your top, values, your top needs, so that when you bring it up, you're speaking from a place of clarity. You've done all the work, you've done all the growth, and then when you're communicating it, it's actually much more respected and well received. So I would have to say bringing it back to self-awareness and doing some work and learning about yourself and what your core values are.
Yeah. So, is there a story of transformation or a client breakthrough that beautifully illustrates the moment a woman broke her own pattern and allowed a different kind of loving
Oh my God, so many. Yeah.
in?
So I've got, maybe one or two that have been the most transformative. And I think it kind of helped throughout their whole life. But I've got one client who was attracting a bunch of different types of guys. And I think to her, that was success, that she was getting attention. But when we looked at the patterns from her, you know, decade of dating and relationships, these none of these relationships were good for her, right? And I think she understood that she had a really bad people pleasing pattern, didn't really know herself, didn't even know what her needs were. I think we did a lot of work there and built her value system according to her actual core values. Then when she, took the time off, did all the work. She started attracting just a whole new level of caliber of different men, and it's just getting better and better. And I think she's getting closer now to calling in that life partner. But just to say, like, this has been for her at least a 15-year journey through her early 20s to now her mid 30s. So it's different for everybody, but for her, what she's been able to achieve is a better sense of self, better sense of worth, and now she can communicate with clarity and filter through her environment in a much more healthy way.
Well, thank you for that story, Miss Serena. So, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review is sixth season, people. Please do listen to our episode with Miss Serena because uh empowering women is something else. Comedy 101 in its third season, Food 101 in sixth season, Geography 101, Love Letters, Movie 101, Review Music 101, our fourth season, and My Science 101, Sex 101 in its second season, and My Baby Podcast, Mental Health 101, Law 101, Bible Verses 101, and the newest one, Motivation 101, and Entrepreneurship 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Serena, what is your final most helpful piece of advice for the woman who feels has succeeded everything but love and it's wondering if she needs to choose between them?
I don't believe so. I think you need to, nurture your relationships, whether it's professionally or personally. When you're ready for a relationship, you'll call it in. I think you have to go through the process of wanting it versus just needing it for the sake of society. That's what society wants for you. I think love is one of the most beautiful feelings. If it's, genuine, it's one of the most beautiful feelings you can ever experience. And it's very empowering to build a relationship, to build a family. So I think each woman's journey is different, and you can have the success and have the love life. It's just really, are you ready to do the work, and are you ready to do things differently? Is probably the question I would ask those women. And if they are, they'll make it happen. They're high achievers, right? They'll make it happen, and they just maybe need some support.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your support to the world, Miss Serena. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so currently I do a lot of one-on-one sessions. A lot of my clients that I'm working with right now, whether it's, we work together for the first 3 months up to 6 months, it really depends on their goals. But you can find all my services online and reach out to me. I do complimentary discovery calls and would love to connect and see if we can, maybe work together, or if there's any support I can provide.
Yes, yes, people, let's support Miss Serena because if you support her for sure, more and more empowering coaching will arise. So, Miss Serena, what will be your short term and long term goals before I'll let you go?
Short term goals, I think for me, are to focus more on my priorities, not tasks. It's just something that as women we're notorious with. So
Yes.
next year, I've got these goals that are priorities for my business and personal life. And then long term is just to continue to be curious. I think the moment you think you know yourself, you'll be surprised. You reach another level of consciousness and understanding. So just being more open and being able to explore through various opportunities, or yeah, having that mindset open is definitely a long-term goal.
Yes, indeed. And more to come, people. See you soon.